So with me here, I have the Constitution, and I'm going to ask you. We have 47 counties, right? So I'm going to name a county, and you will tell me the governor of the county. Can you do that for me?
Yeah.
Okay, let's start. Mombasa,
Ali Hassan Joho,
Kwale,
Salim Mvurya,
Kilifi,
Jeff Amason Kingi,
Tana River,
Major Retired Hussein Dado Godana.
Nyamira.
Nyamira we have John Nyagarama.
It's now my turn. Nairobi, we have His Excellency Sonko. Yes, I can still do this. Okay, it's still a mystery to me how he has done that. But today we're joined by one Cristiano Mutua, and we're going to go through this special skill he has of mastery. Welcome, Cristiano.
Thank you.
So, in a nutshell, introduce yourself to us.
Right. My name is Cristiano Mutua. I come from Kitui County. I'm a student, University of Nairobi. I'm taking Bachelor of Arts in Political Science and Religion. Yes.
Apart from studying political science and religion, do you have any? What's your talent? What's your special skill?
Okay. Apart from studying, I also have that skill to be able to memorize stuff like the Bible, but not the whole of the Bible, and also the Kenyan Constitution, and also some kind of political events that happened in Kenya, because I also have interest in politics. Yes.
Some political events like which ones?
Like in the case of the general elections 2017. Yes, there are some things that happened in Kenya that time that will always remain in the Kenya archives as far as politics is concerned. Yeah.
Do you have a sample of that in your mind right now?
Yeah, for example, we have this nullification of presidential election whereby the NASA coalition were not satisfied with the results from the IEBC that President Kenyatta had won the election. So there are some series of things that happened after the Supreme Court nullified the elections, and then the IEBC was ordered to conduct another fresh election within a period of 60 days. So many things happened, and due to the fact that I love politics, there are some things that I combined, and then I came up with one package, such a way that I can be able to recite it exactly the way things happened. Yes. So that makes it a total of 3 items that I can do from the memory, having studied them before. Yeah.
So when did you realize you have this special skill of memorizing stuff?
7 years ago, when I was in high school, Form 4, 2012, I realized that I have that potential, I think the month of September. And then I realized that whenever I study the Bible, the verses zinakuja baadaye and they stick in my memory. Yes.
So the Bible, which book in particular, or is it any book you choose to recite?
Okay, being in high school, there is the book of Luke, which is tested in CRE paper 2. But then I began with the book of 2 Timothy, which has teachings about how youth should stay. It was a book written by Paul, writing to Timothy, giving him some kind of instructions to stay in this life as a young person. So I began with the book of 2 Timothy, and I remember very well I began with 2 Timothy chapter 2.
Can you recite first the first 5 verses of 2 Timothy?
Okay. The book of 2 Timothy chapter 2 begins by saying, okay, it is Paul writing to Timothy.
Let me cut you short. Which version are you reciting first from? Because you have different versions of the Bible. Yeah.
So Revised Standard Bible Version, because it is the one recommended in high school. Yeah, hiyo ndio tu nilikuwa in possession of that time. So it's the one that I used, Revised Standard. And 2 Timothy chapter 2, Paul tells Timothy, verse 1, "You then, my son, be strong in the grace that is in Christ Jesus, and what you've heard before me in many witnesses, and trust to faithful men who will be able to teach others also. Share in suffering as a good soldier of Christ Jesus, and no soldier in service gets involved in civilian affairs, says he aims to satisfy who enlisted him. An athlete is not crowned unless he competes according to the rules, and it is the hard-working farmer who ought to have the first share of crops. Yes.
What was the first thing that you ever recited? Is it the Bible, or what's the first time you realized? You say that you're in Form 4. So what was that scenario like? Like what happened? You realized that, hey, I can master these things?
Well, the first thing is okay. I'm a football fan, and the first thing to memorize was the history of Manchester United Football Club in England, and then I could be able to do it in Kiswahili, exactly how the club began, and where the club plays, the number of titles it has won in England, and I could be able to recite history of Manchester United very freely. Yes, so that's the first thing I remember I put in my head. Yeah.
So can you recite that for us?
Right. In Swahili, but Manchester United. Klabu ya Manchester United ni kutoka nchini Uingereza ambacho kilianzishwa mwaka wa 1887 na ambacho kina makao katika Old Trafford, eneo la Greater Manchester. Klabu hiki kilikuwa mwanachama mwanzilishi wa ligi kuu ya Premier mwaka wa 1992 na kimeshiriki katika michuano ya divisheni ya juu ya kandanda huko Uingereza kwa zaidi ya miaka 80. Kwa sasa klabu hiki kiko chini ya ukufunzi wa meneja Ole Gunnar Solskjaer ambaye alipata kazi baada ya kung'atuliwa kwa meneja Jose Mourinho kutokana na matokeo duni ya klabu hicho msimu uliopita. Yeah. So the point is, it was the first thing to put in head many years ago, but I can still be able to remember it even if I did it many years, let's say over 14 years, because nilianza kuwa fan wa Manchester United many years ago. So I still remember the first thing I put in my head.
With this special skill, I expect you to be an outstanding student in academics. So would you say that it's easy for you to be in school, like you're an A student, like you don't struggle when it comes to reading?
Well, yes, I also use the skill in academics, but now in the university, the policies are very clear that you need to use your head and also to understand and also to apply what you study in real life situations. So in university, we are not required to write exactly what we were told, but we are required to apply what we were told in real life situations. Yeah, so I think the first class I went in the university, we were told that don't write what the lecturer told you. Okay, I can be able to master the lecture notes exactly the way we were given, but now the lecturer also needs us to be able to convince him that we understand what we studied. So writing exactly what we were told is not necessary there. Yeah, I also apply it in academics, but now in another way. Yeah.
Other way.
The other way is that not to write exactly what we were told, but to apply and use other different terminologies to convince the lecturer that we understand what we are writing in the exam.
It's like it's easy for you, because for you to actually change what you were told, you first have to remember and understand what was said. So is it easy for you because you already remember what the notes say? So all that is needed is for you to like translate it.
Yeah, to translate it in different terminologies, in different fields, so that the lecturer will know that you are understanding what you are writing down. And then it's not a matter that you write exactly what you think is right. I think marks are given in terms of your argument. You can argue differently from another candidate, but the point is to convince the lecturer that you understand what you're talking about. That's so, especially from the Department of Arts, that is what is required. So writing exactly what you are told in the university is not necessary. I can be able to do that. I can be able to master a whole handout, but it's not necessary. Yes.
So from Form 4, when you realize that you have this special skill, where have you used it after Form 4, and how have you used it to make this world a better place?
Okay, after I finalized my high school education. That was back 2012. 2013, I began to study the SETI books. By then, the SET books by Ngugi wa Thiong'o, The River Between, I was able to master the SET book exactly the way it is written. So I joined one of the theater groups performing in Kitui County because I was able to narrate the whole SETI book, and I could accompany them to some performances. It is when I began to realize that I need to impart the skill of narrating things to students, because many students have that mentality to put secular things in their heads, but now the things that are of help, they don't put in their brains. So I saw it as a challenge, as a kind of motivation to students, and that is what I majored in after high school. I went to schools, but with permissions from different education offices, so that I have the permission to go to a school, and in case an official finds me in the school, I will display a letter of permission from the office. So basically it was to challenge students to nurture and to realize the potential they have. Not a must that they do it exactly the way I do, word for word. They can master the main contents, those that can be tested in exams. It was a kind of challenge to high schools, the ability to be able to remember what the teacher teaches in class. Yeah.
Has this special skill opened for you doors, to meet prominent people or to attend great events?
Yes, but then it took a process. Everything has a process. I began the grassroots for my local, and then I moved up, meeting people. Yeah, but now the process was, if I want to go to a higher place, I have to be recommended by those people where I began from. That means before they recommend me, they have to listen to me first. That's why I began from my former primary school. I motivated the students there, the pupils there. I was given a recommendation by the head teacher. I transferred it to the CSO of that zone. He gave me permission to go to the schools within that zone. Collectively, I had a letter of permission from the zone education officer. So with the letter from the zone education officer, I was able to access the sub-county director of education. And from the sub-county director of education, I was able to meet the county director. It is a process. And due to the many schools I've been visiting, I also meet people who connect me to other areas also. Yeah.
And how long does it take to memorize a piece?
It will depend with the nature of the piece. Like the Bible, we have stories, we have poetic books like Psalms and Proverbs, we have the letters Paul. So depending on the nature of the chapter, it is easy to understand a story. So as far as the stories are concerned, those are the chapters that I take least time to memorize, because I need 10 minutes to do a chapter with over 30 verses as far as it is a story. But now with the letter, it is written in details. Verse 1, that is what he said. Verse 2, verse 3, verse 4. Like for example, the book of Hebrews, chapter 13, it is not a conversation, it is a letter written towards the Hebrews. And then I can be able to see verse 1, which says, let brotherly love continue. That is verse 1. Yes. And then you can go to verse 2. It says, remember strangers, for by so doing, some welcome the angels without knowing. That is verse 2. It's not a conversation, it's something written. But when it comes to a story, it's very easy to understand a story. Like the story of Jesus from birth to ascension to heaven, I took 1 week to be able to memorize the book of Luke. So the way Jesus had 12 disciples is the same way I know the book of Luke from chapter 1 to 24. It's a story. Yeah.
So I hear you can also memorize the Constitution, and I have the Constitution here with me, and we're going to chapter 6, and I want you to memorize it for me if you can, please.
Okay, chapter 6 is entitled Leadership and Integrity. It is one chapter out of the 18, and it talks about leadership, governance, and integrity, which runs from Article 73 to Article 80. And the first clause of chapter 6, that is Article 73, says, authority assigned to a state officer is a public trust to be exercised in a manner that is consistent with the purposes and objects of this Constitution, in a manner that demonstrates respect to the people, in a manner that brings honor to the nation and dignity to the office, and in a manner that promotes public confidence in the integrity of the office, and B, vests in the state officer the responsibility to serve the people rather than the power to rule them. So clause 2 of Article 73 says the guiding principles of leadership and integrity include A, selection on the basis of personal integrity, competence or suitability, or election in free and fair election. B, objectivity and impartiality in decision making and in ensuring that the decisions are not influenced by nepotism, favoritism, other improper motives, or corrupt practices. C, selfless service based solely on public interest, demonstrated by honesty in execution of public duties and declaration of any personal interest that may conflict with the public official duties. And then D is accountability to the public for decisions and action, and E is discipline and commitment in service to the people. That is Article 73. Now, when you go to Article 74, it says that before assuming a state office, acting in a state office, or performing any function of a state office, a person shall take or subscribe the oath or affirmation of office in a manner and form that is prescribed by the third schedule or under an act of parliament.
Serious. This is word by word. You have not even missed a full stop. Wow, that's so great. So, how do you plan on incorporating this skill and your future, your career?
Okay, I have interest in politics, and I've been meeting some advisors, people who also pursued the line I want to pursue, and I listen to what they talk about that line. I met one of the governors, a lecturer at University of Nairobi, and then he was once a lecturer in the University of Nairobi. So he advised me to do something related with religion because of the ability to memorize the scripture, and also something related to law because of the ability to memorize the Kenyan Constitution. I opted to become a lawyer, but then due to some factors, I changed my mind. I'm a Christian, and one thing that we fight for is for justice. So I view and I see some of the lawyers that we have and the kind of cases they handle and the kind of feedback I see being given by some courts. I see injustices. So as a Christian, I said, even if I was to do law, which was part of my passion before I changed it, I will do something close to law, but I will do it with a motive to bring justice. Yes, so my career is to become an activist or somebody who will use written facts to determine cases in a just way. Yeah, because we are human beings and we need to have equality and justice in our country. In fact, that is one of the driving factors that made me to be able to memorize the Kenyan Constitution. We have so many people who are in leadership positions, but they don't know what Chapter 6 says. There is a place that says a state officer shall not have a bank account outside Kenya. Few months ago, we had the DPP saying they are following money in foreign countries. So my question is, if the Constitution lays that legislation, no money should be taken out of the country, on what basis did they take the money out so that it can be followed due to that order from the DPP? So I want to use the skill that I have to let people know that we have potentials to realize who we are, and we can use the same potentials to change people's lives, not to destroy their lives. Yeah.
And for young people, you realize this skill when you're in Form 4. And there are so many young people out there who have special skills like you that are different but have not yet realized it. Or some have realized it but don't know what to do with it. So what will be your advice to them?
Okay, I will advise them to continue in what they believe in and what they think they have the potential to do. But I also want them to know that there are some things that you can put in your head. When you present them to people, you will not succeed. I knew out of the passion for Manchester United, no one will be able to listen to me in any platform memorizing Manchester United history. So I weighed the two. What is it that can benefit me if I put it in my head? And it is out of the ability to memorize the Kenyan Constitution and the Bible. I got sponsorship. So my sponsorship is not courtesy of Manchester United recitations.
So as we have heard from Cristiano, I'm still shocked, by the way. I can't believe he has recited that the Constitution like just as it is. But his message to the youth is that it's not enough to be talented. It's not enough to have a special skill. You have to have discipline and choose how you will use your talent.